Looks like YouTube's down. So I guess we're just going to go with fight. Oh, here it goes. They're on now. There you go. Anytime we have technical difficulties, we always have a fantastic show. We have a new sister that's going to visit with us today. I've not met her. I'm looking forward to it. Her name is Anouk, and I hope I got that right. We're going to pull her up in just a second. I'm going to allow people time to come in since YouTube just got on, and allow people time to come in and then share to the network. If these shows resonate with you, please share so we can stay above these algorithms on Facebook and YouTube until we can have our own network, which is in the making. How's it going, everybody? Got a new friend coming in the studio. Soul Speaks 5D. It's just a conversation, a conscious conversation. Her name is Anouk, and I'm going to get her up here now. And we'll get to know each other in front of all of our brothers and sisters in typical Soulology style.
Let's start my video.
Oh, there was no sound on the intro.
Okay, awesome.
I'm sorry, I was thinking out loud. Did I say your name right, Anouk?
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
Ah, good. At least I got one thing right today. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in and sharing space with us, honoring us with your presence. I'm excited to get to know you this morning, first show of the day. You're over in what, the Netherlands?
No, I'm now in Turkey.
Oh, you're in Turkey. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
But I'm from the Netherlands, so you got that right.
Yeah, I'm doing okay. I'm batting about 500 today. So I played the intro without music, and I got half of it.
Well, I still have great visuals, so that's fine.
Yeah, yes, and thank you, Michael Van Patten, for that. When did you wake up? How long have you been conscious? Did you go through a bunch of traumas like everybody else?
Oh yeah, I mean, I woke up just under 2 years now, and it wasn't really a waking up. It was rather being shoved in a bathtub full of ice while still asleep. That's kind of how
I've never heard that one. I've heard about that. I had quite a few baptisms by fire and many people that I've talked to, but I've not heard that metaphoric analogy.
Yeah.
So you went into a freeze.
Oh, I totally went into a freeze, and I was like, who am I, and where have I been all this time, and what's going on, and how did I make such a mess of my life? I mean, that was literally one of the first things I thought. How the hell did I end up in this mess?
Wow. You didn't see it coming?
No, I did not see it coming at all. I was literally living in my own fantasy world.
Yeah, that sounds similar to my experience and to a lot of people's. And I didn't have the surprise. Like, I could feel it coming, and then I had a couple of divine episodes, and then I'm in that space you're talking about. But very quickly, I realized, just through my conversations with the universe, that don't blame anyone, don't make excuses, and don't project on anything, externally. Don't lie, don't make excuses, and don't blame anything external. In other words, take responsibility for the circumstances or the consequences that you are dealing with, because they're one and the same thing. You know, did you have one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, I created all this myself. How do I fix it?
Yeah, well, actually, I did do everything that you did not do. So I literally blamed everything, everyone, and
Don't
so
get me wrong.
I went about the whole
Yeah, don't get me
way.
wrong. Don't get me wrong. I had years of that preceding up to it, you know,
Yeah,
unconscious projection, you know, narcissistic frequency, even though I wasn't a narcissist, but there
yeah,
are narcissistic frequencies in all of us. I mean, all these programs are in all of us. It just,
yeah.
they come out looking a little different. So what happened? I mean, so when did you have your aha moment when you're like, oh, it's all me?
That didn't come until possibly maybe 6 months down the line. It took me quite a while.
Yeah.
Also, I was not at all a spiritual person. I knew nothing about spirituality. I mean, literally zero. So when I woke up, the only thing I realized was that I was not the same person. And it kind of felt that the person that I was had died in that particular night that it happened.
Now this
And
was
so,
6 months into it, right?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And so 6 months into it, I started to see all the connecting dots. And it really, I think the first 6 months I was in so much shock of how I ended up in this mess, and trying to really kind of, I don't know, put out the fire. Or there was a lot of chaos going on around me that I was involved in. And I was really kind of firefighting at that for about 6 months, just trying to deal with all this kind of fallout from everything that I had created. And so I think because of all the chaos, I didn't really have the time to see what, my responsibility in that. And so, I'm 41 years old now. I was 39 at the time. And so for 39 years, I'd basically always been the victim and always blamed everything on everyone else. So it took me a while to get out of that default programming and to get that bird's eye view of, oh, hold on, you've actually created all of this yourself.
Yes. Yeah, and that chaotic soup. I remember that. I remember one because I chose to go homeless for the first 2 years by my own choice, and just connect and work it out. But one day I was in that chaotic soup like you're talking about, and this jogger came by, and he must have been 70 years old. He was an Asian man, and he was very short and small. And I thought, how is he doing that? And he was taking these little steps, like, like, and I thought, oh my God, that's me. I'm just like these little survival steps, just one after the other. That's all you could do. But so you ended up getting the download. It's all you. You're seeing the connectivity. Did you have like, everybody's different. The universe, kind of communicates with each one of us differently. And some people have, angels come in, galactic, elementals. Some people just speak to the kind of like the singular universal voice. Did you have any emissaries of the universe bring you to the party?
Yep. I mean, basically in the couple of days that followed after my first awakening, I started hearing voices. And I literally thought, Anouk, you have now officially gone insane. Do not tell other people about this. And I literally thought, okay, well, I'm obviously going through some kind of psychosis. This is the kind of stuff I see in movies all the time. So let's just ignore it and see if it goes away. And so the voices didn't go away. And they weren't nasty voices. They were actually very helpful voices and felt very good. And so, after getting used to it for a while, I started talking back and saying, okay, well, you're here now anyway. Let's have a play and let's see what it is that you want to tell me. And when I started doing that, all this information started coming in about things that I should be aware of, things that I had to pay attention to, things that were coming up for me in the very near future. And so I realized that, okay, whether or not I'm going insane, this is actually really helpful. So I literally just accepted them in. And one of these voices, and I now realize that one of the voices was my divine self. Some were angels.
Yeah.
And so they became my team to get me through that particular period in my life. And I don't communicate with the voices anymore because I don't feel that need anymore. And also at that moment in time, I felt very lost. So it was helpful to kind of know what was coming so I could prepare myself for it.
Yeah.
And now I'm very much in a place where I kind of live in the moment and just handle whatever comes my way.
Yeah. So in like most people, even like with myself, they were external. They seemed external, and
Yeah.
then as time went on, you embodied them, and so
Yeah.
that's basically you or aspects of you or however that works. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody actually has it figured out, but yeah, that's interesting. Now, were they telling you things just exclusive to your personal journey, or were they also giving you information in terms of what's happening collectively?
No, I mean, they did that at some point, but in the beginning, it was only exclusively for me and
Okay.
what I kind of needed to get through that period. And actually, they told me, they passed on the names of certain people that were going to assist me on my journey, of which Archangelic, a very good friend of mine now, was one of them, and Jason Estes was another one.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's
Very cool.
how I connected with those people, and that really helped me to understand that, hey, you're not the only one that is going through
Yeah.
this.
Come join the
And
crazy people.
yeah, we're all mad in here.
Well, that's what's funny now, that this whole thing's turned upside down, and this incredible opportunity that we all created has come to fruition. You know, these
Yeah,
energies supporting solitude and self introspection and hanging out with people in the place you live that you didn't talk to for 20 years. And now that you're not
yeah,
working, you have to talk
yeah,
to them, and taken out of your patterns and behaviors. Yeah. So we've come a long way. And these types of connections and experiences, I think, are full of code. And I thank you for sharing this intimate, part of your transformation, because the telepathy, the connection to Jason and to the others, that's proof. That's the
yeah,
proof that I think is starting to come to the surface, this non-physical power that we not only have but share with each other, that's actually
yeah.
altering this world, and we're starting to see evidence of it, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember in those first days that I thought I was some kind of superwoman with these magical powers that no one else had. Obviously, in time, you start to understand that everyone has
Hmm.
abilities and has their own superpowers. Um, so yeah, it was a lot of fun in the beginning, actually.
Well, I've met two other women in the last, 2 weeks on these shows. I can't remember because we do so many, but they were both very impressive. They had both had the same type of illumination you have. And what was interesting is they both, but to in their own words, woke up a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
But they were speaking at a level of people I've known that have been awake for 20 or 30 years, which two things stand out in your story. One is the fact that those external voices became embodied, and two, that you didn't get wowed, to the point of, harming yourself in terms of
yeah,
over identifying with your powers, starting to realize that everybody has this. Because I run into a lot of people, and it's understandable. It happened to me. I mean, these transmissions and downloads are extremely powerful and challenging to the ego, but I think enough people, particularly all these women for all these years, have paved the way energetically, so we don't have to go through as much, pain and suffering and
yeah.
questioning ourselves, right? So did you ever think that you were absolutely out of your mind and you wanted to go get help or something like that?
I didn't want to get help. I totally was convinced I was out of my mind. And I didn't dare tell anyone else because I thought that I would be sectioned.
Yes,
So
yes.
I was like, there's no way I'm going to share this with anyone. And so, not until I got the first name through and I got
Yeah.
in touch with Arkan did I share with him very carefully at the beginning to say, well, I've had your name through. And I said it was in a dream because I thought, well, a dream kind of makes sense, right? And as he kind of just opened up, I opened up as well. And he said, well, welcome to the club. There's lots of around. So you're not the only one. And I was like, really? And he was like, hold on, I'll send you some videos. And I was like, okay. And then literally, I mean, in about 24 hours, the world just opened up for me, where I saw all these people that were literally telling a very similar story of what I was going through.
Yeah.
And that was so incredibly helpful, because they were all people that, you know, had obviously been walking their path for quite some time and were confident to share that story. But I was not at that point yet.
Yeah.
I was too scared what my environment and the people around me would say about it.
Yeah, you probably went through the same thing everybody else did, where the family wants to put you in the psych ward and you're crazy and, you know, you need to do this and you need to go get a job and you need to be normal.
Yeah. And I mean, once I had the confidence to really kind of stand in my power and just stand in the I am that I am, I also lost a lot of people from my surroundings, because I literally started speaking a different language. I mean, some of them could literally not hear me anymore.
Yeah.
It was bizarre, because they would literally start shouting at me, as in like, you know, I don't understand you. And I was like, but I'm talking to you, and the communication just wasn't working anymore.
Yeah. I think that's something that obviously everybody had their moments. You know, it's interesting, even talking to people in what I do, you know, mostly publicly, but sometimes privately, not too often. I don't do very good that way. And, but that the level of doubt that they still had at high energetic moments, even in 2020. And I'm not talking about what's going on, you know, what's in the movie script. I'm talking about, you know, where you look at yourself and go, am I, you know, even after a lot of validation, you're going, am I just like imagining this? I mean, like you're pinching yourself saying, is this real? You know, so I think that's a lot easier for people now, because to your point, like that served you, there's a lot more support and, you know, being put out there, code being put out there by virtue of people, you know, sharing their experiences.
Yeah. I mean, in my surrounding, it's been awesome, because I've just come out with who I am now. I have people around me that come up to me and say, well, you know, I have this experience has happened to me, and I kind of feel like I'm going crazy. Like, I feel like you're the only person I can talk to. And so at least by me being myself, I think that other people also feel more confident to reach out and say, hey, I'm kind of stuck with something. I think we can relate. Can you assist me?
Yeah. Plus it's good to go ask a crazy person, because if you don't get the right answer or anything, you can just, you can just blow it off. Right. Oh yeah, she is crazy. Were you talking to her? What were you talking to her about? Oh, nothing. I was trying to help her. You know? But yeah, it's really exciting. Now, did you start to, when this happened to you, are you a practitioner? Are you an energy practitioner? Do you work with people?
I am now, but I wasn't at that point at all. And again, I didn't know anything about spirituality or anything like that. So that wasn't really part of my reality, or my persona. But yes, since then, obviously, with everything that I've learned, people have found their way to me without me saying what it is that I do, asking for assistance. So I don't advertise, or I don't put myself out there as a healer or any other kind of label that you can think of. Whatever person comes to me asking for service, if I feel that's aligned with me, I will assist.
So it comes organically.
Yeah.
I remember reading a story about a guy, this had gone back to like 1950s, 1940s. He was a businessman, I believe in Chicago. Joel Goldsmith, that's his name. And I can't remember the name of his group, the Divine something. But anyway, what's happened to people like you happened to him, like in the 50s. And he got a download, and now he's just walking down a busy street in New York or Chicago, wherever he was. And people would just start walking up to him and saying, I need to talk to you. Can you heal me? Can you help me? And I was always fascinated by that, because I read this in the mid 80s, and now you're actually hearing stories. And like you said, you're not the only one with superpowers. We all have them. I think
Yeah.
that's probably going to be the biggest challenge that we have, you know, getting past of course, getting past the point of there is no death, but actually accepting and getting past the fear of our own power, you know?
Yes. Yeah. It's also really nice to see when someone comes up to me. It's like it's a beautiful reflection of where I have been as well.
Yes.
And it's really nice to see where I have been and where I am now.
Yes.
And
Yes. Yeah.
and I'm also a fairly serious businesswoman. So for me to come out with with me being as I am now, work-wise, that was very interesting. Because the people that I do business with and business partners, etc., were totally shocked.
Yeah. Now, are you still working in the business arena? Are you doing this full time?
Yeah. No, I still work in the business arena, but I have changed it a lot because I don't feel aligned with the old way of how business and how
Yeah.
my old partners work
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah.
Also with the financial structure. So
Yes.
wherever I'm still kind of tied up by a contract, I still honor that.
Yes.
But apart from that, my new businesses, they all run according to my own rules now.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a long corporate career and consulting career and, you know, very alpha male, very competitive. And then I went through everything I went through. And so then I tried to, you know, as Sology would expand, I would try to like apply the old business paradigm where we're going to plan this, we're going to strategize this, we're going to have we don't even have a website after 9 years, although that's going to change in the next couple of months. But yeah, I get what you're saying. And it's not only, it's almost like you can't project this frequency with any of that old 3D stuff,
Oh,
especially what we call money.
yeah,
You know, we've been offered a lot of things over the years, and we just continue to say, if these shows resonate with you, consider supporting us with a contribution. That's it. We just put a comment up. We don't talk about it, and it's not always easy. But I can see as the days go by how the only way to really bring this new earth frequency fully into the earth is to let go of all the old stuff and
yeah.
in the physical sense, you know.
Amen. I
Yeah.
really say amen to that. It's yeah, I mean financially all those old ways they really don't sit with me anymore.
No.
So I've really let that go.
Well, the energy won't support it. The
Exactly.
universal energy will not support it. You know,
Exactly.
I'll be honest with you. In so 2000 summer of 2018, we were probably at like 600 shows. We're at like 2,000 now, and at that time there was a little bit of momentum getting started, and I took out a loan. And then I paid it off. I paid it off as quick as I could. I took out another one, paid it off as quick as I could, took off another one, took me a year, paid off as quick as I could. And because I was doing that, I was building up a pretty good line of credit. Now I hadn't borrowed money in years. I hadn't bought a car, I hadn't bought a house. It'd been 10, 15, 20 years, and I had no credit. It's horrible credit and all that. But I developed this relationship. But then something came in. I thought, well, when I'm done, I'm going to take out another one and put this together and put that. And then I just heard, no, if you do that, you are going to be carrying that frequency
Yeah.
forward. So you bite the bullet and you have faith, and, you know, it's crazy, but when a bill comes in and I pay it, and I used to be going, oh, I'm going to wait a week,
Yeah.
you know, but I pay it and immediately it gets
Yeah.
reciprocated. And that's how this energy works. It's
I
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I used to have this thing where, money was a very big motivator for me,
Yeah.
and I was always chasing that money. And
Yeah.
I also had this tendency of holding on to money and not spending it, not giving it to anyone. And now everything that I have, I freely share. I don't save money in the bank or anything like that, which goes against the people that surround me and their beliefs. But no, I feel that, that this is what feels good to me at this
That's
moment in time. And so whatever I have, I share.
Yeah. And I think that's the other part too, you know, like well, it was around that time. Actually, it was at the same time, 2018, the summer. I was in a hotel room in Houston, Texas. I was, you know, I probably had like a week at the most paid. Morgan had gone back to Australia. We'd had a divine union ceremony. How am I going to get her over here? I'm homeless. I mean, I don't, all that stuff you're dealing with that we've all dealt with. And the Arcturians came into the room and started flying around. I got Morgan on the phone. I'm like, I need some help with this. but they came in as I was calmed down with her help, and I started communicating with them. And they said, part of what you're going to be doing, you know, as a team member of many different energies around the world, is to bring in 5D commerce. And here are the principles: pay it forward. It's based on integrity, the honor system. Nobody's going to stand over you and you know, tax you or say, you know, let me pull out a percentage. And yeah, and it's based on paying it forward.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what you're saying. And that is there's an energetic force that is coming with the type of thing that you're doing that is taking on a visibility for us now. It's still in the early stages, but it works. And there's enough people, thank God,
Yeah.
for people like you that are implementing this and anchoring this into the holy matrix that we all, you know, compose on this earth. So thank you.
No, thank you too. I mean, one of the things that was a big game changer for me is to I put this practice into my businesses, where when someone pays for a service or pays for an item they buy from me, is that they send it with fully conscious and with their love and gratitude.
Yes.
And I've had a lot of people be quite surprised by what I'm requesting of them. And now they're totally used to it. And, you know, I've had lots of people come back to me saying, well, you know, I do this with my other payments now as well. And just my whole feeling about money and the way that my transactions work is with so much more love and gratitude. And you know, money comes back, it flows freely, goes to the people that I love. And I think that's a big thing as well for me.
Well, that connectivity, you know, we spent so much time looking at the dirt, you know, oh my God, I'm not good enough, or she's ugly, or, you know, all those different things. And then you start to what I realized, this is all me. I can't blame anybody. And then it flips, and then you start to realize, hey, the connectivity works when I think a bad thought and it affects all these people. What happens if I go the other way with it? And I think that's what's happening now.
Yeah.
Enough people have been hit by the cosmic 2x4. Wake up, hear voices, you know, different things that happen to people, and that they made but they listened to that guidance, and they detached. And I think enough people have done it that you know, it's maybe it's not mainstream, maybe it's not even alternate mainstream, but there's enough traction there that I think more and more people are going to be coming to the party every single day.
Well, I'm seeing it in my surroundings, and I live in a place that is not that has hardly any conscious people. But even here, I don't see the radical changes like you and I went through, but I see people starting to ask questions and look at the way that they're dealing with life or handling or looking at life. And so becoming more conscious of what it is, how they wish to live.
Yeah. I think it started with all of us, even those that any of us might say they're not conscious. Somewhere in their conscious / unconscious, subconscious, whatever, this isn't cool. I'm not happy with this world. I'm not happy with my circle of the world, you know. And so look what's happened. We create this energetic powerhouse, this seed of transformation. And you're exactly right. So it put everybody in the same, it puts the collective in the same space each one of us were in individually, which was isolation. Okay. And to your point, which I think is so important to remember, is to question everything, even question what comes in. You know, I question everything, and myself is first and foremost. Yeah. So this is the energy that's, I mean, think about that. It's affecting virtually everyone in the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think, yeah, I would add to that maybe pause as well. Pause
Hmm.
and question. And then also let it go, of course, because I also see lots of people, they stay in that loop of just questioning everything all the time.
True.
And,
True.
you know,
As a distraction.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely stay conscious with everything that is happening, and ask yourself questions.
Yeah.
And don't necessarily ask the people around you, just ask yourself the
Yeah.
questions.
And then the thing is too is to everybody, like for instance, disclosure issues or the conspiracy issues woke a lot of people up. Like
Yeah.
9/11 and JFK 50 years later, it's still like, we're going to release the files, but you never do. And so it's, I guess what I'm saying is we all had this focus on, oh my God, truth is stranger than fiction, and what else is going on in the rabbit hole, and how many rabbit holes is there, and how deep do they go, and then you back off and start to utilize that focus, intention, and energy for creation. So our head and heart are in that mode, and I think all that other stuff is just simply going to fall away, like so many
I
of
think
these systems are starting to buckle now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, I mean, I had a whole period of going down the rabbit hole and different rabbit holes, etc. And it's a lot of fun. It can be a lot of fun, but it's also super distracting.
Yeah.
And whatever big game is going on, or multiple games, they're being played out anyway. They're divinely being played out. There's nothing that at this moment in time I have to do to participate in that. So unless it comes knocking on my door, for which I'm also ready, I
and
will.
responsible for.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll just deal with my little corner of the world.
That's right. That's right. And like my wife has a saying, she'll say, if you look for it, you're going to find it.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So and so did this, and did you hear about that? Well, if you look for it, you're going to find it.
Yeah.
And so that's really, I guess maybe a codependent frequency, uh, maybe even you could call it a toxic frequency, but it's definitely an addiction or a habit or a behavior or a pattern that we've all had. And it's not, it takes a little time to get rid of these things. It's very, very rarely can we just snap our fingers and we're done. It always seems to kind of come back and show itself, come back and show itself.
Yeah.
And maybe that's how the higher self keeps us in check. I don't know, but it seems to be working.
I think it's possibly just dissolve whatever is still there, needed to be dealt with.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, that's how it feels like in my case.
Yeah. What do you do? I always love asking people this question. It's probably my favorite question because I learned so much from it. What do you do when you get triggered? What do you do when you get knocked off balance? Do you have a method that you use for yourself personally to bring you back into like 0 point or balance?
Yeah, I literally stop and observe. I just stop.
Just
And it can be awkward at times, because if someone is starting a heated debate with you and you kind of just go quiet, you tend to get a little bit of a funny face looking at you from the other side. But I definitely don't want to be on autopilot. And so
yeah,
when I feel that something triggers me, I won't freeze, but I definitely take my time to just pause and just observe what's going on and what my role is and what I'm supposed to learn from it.
yeah.
Um, that doesn't mean I never get triggered. I mean, the biggest trigger I have is my preteen daughter, who's 11 years old.
Oh my
And
God.
yeah, she literally has, like, she can get me to go from
Uh,
0 to 100 in a split second. But yeah, she's the biggest trigger, I would say. But I still do the same thing. Whenever I notice I slip back into something, I just
yeah.
stop,
Yeah.
pause.
I was on the streets a couple years, came off the streets, got my two youngest back into my house because I had a house, and they were girls. So I had two boys and four girls, and they were girls. Their mother had died, so we were going through a lot of stuff as I'm awakening and starting Sology,
Wow.
and hearing all the stuff from family saying you're crazy. Why don't you go get a job? What do you mean you got to put a studio in your, and start broadcasting? But anyway, they were 11 and 12, and their energy beat the living hell out of me. I mean, I would have a weekly thing where I'd sit them down in the kitchen and I would pace back and forth and I would lecture them. And then finally one day, I was like, oh, this isn't working. And I
Yeah.
was talking to Morgan by then, and she, like, let it flow. They're
Yeah.
your teachers. And so I let them flow. The house got very messy, but the energy was incredible. Like
Yeah.
it was just letting go. It was
Yeah.
detaching. It was letting go of the control and the roles and the labels and seeing them as a soul. But they taught me so much. Teenage and pre-teenage girls they're priceless.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think she's definitely my biggest teacher when it comes to acceptance, just
Yeah.
acceptance.
Yeah.
And just accepting her as she is, and accepting that, she has her own right to follow her own journey in this life.
Yeah.
And whatever that looks like is totally okay. And I'm just the supporting factor in that.
Yeah.
I'm not the controller.
Yeah, I remember reading Marion Williamson. I used to read quite a lot, and so this would have been like in the late '80s, early '90s. But I remember reading this one passage, and she talked about how to allow your children to develop their own rhythms, and it always stuck with me, you know. And I got to say, these six are the, you know, Morgan would be number one, but these six are the greatest teachers I've ever had. They've taught me
I
so
love
much.
that. Yeah, yeah, I love that.
And
And
they don't know that unless they're watching this. I wouldn't
yeah.
I wouldn't want to admit it. What do you mean we taught you your greatest teachers? Well, yeah. But they're your
Oh,
greatest mirrors. They're your
yeah.
mirrors. They're part of your flesh and blood, especially a woman. You know, especially a woman.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
that
I actually have that conversation with my daughter where I tell her that she is my biggest teacher, and
wow.
she doesn't fully grasp it yet. Um, but she takes it. She takes a compliment. She's okay with it.
Oh, I'm sure she is. I'm sure she tries to leverage it a little bit. Now,
Yeah.
now what now she's 11. Of course,
Yeah.
11 today in this atmosphere is like, probably like 17 in,
Oh,
if
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
but because information's moving so fast, plus their mind's still taking in information at that age at a fast rate. And then you got the internet and all that. But that is she familiar with terms like ascension and the different things that no? So
Oh,
has she noticed a change in you?
yes.
Does
She
she
has
ask?
definitely.
Does she
Yeah.
ask you about it? Mom, do you hear voices? And do you need to tell people you do that?
No, actually, she finds that part of me quite kind of, I think it's a bit like a fairy tale mum for her.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I now work with things like tarot cards and stuff like that. And
Mm.
so when she has a question about whether a particular boy in her class likes her, she will ask me to ask the angel cards.
Yeah. You see,
So it
that's what I
totally,
mean. She's going to leverage that.
yeah,
There's a,
exactly.
there's something incredible. I have three sisters as well, a lot of aunts, I was close with my grandmothers. So there was a lot of feminine energy. And one of the things I noticed, I told Morgan this a few weeks ago, and we talked about it at length, was I've never seen a connection that's stronger, more mysterious, has more potential to whatever way the energy goes than between a mother and a daughter. And I don't know why that is, but there's something about that link that is so important.
Yeah.
Um, and I guess that's why the feminine went first in this trip,
Yeah.
because we needed that baseline foundational strength. And I think a lot of it has to do with the mother daughter and all the things that come off of that. But I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's good to see. Have you felt like that the divine feminine collective energy has kind of stepped up this year, especially in the
Oh
last?
boy. Oh yes. Yeah, I would say, I mean, both for me internally as well as for the
Mm,
feminine around me. I mean, wow, it's been amazing. But I've also seen, I mean, I've seen this whole unity come into place at the moment.
mm,
I mean, Jason talks about this as well, that we're now in the period of where we have come into unity, and the divine male and the divine female are now in unity. And so I've seen the masculine also soften down and
yeah.
open up and connect. And I mean, I just see that even with, friends around me that are not conscious or not living a conscious life,
Yeah.
their interaction with me and the people around them has changed so incredibly much just in the past couple of months.
Yeah. Yeah. You're seeing that in the world, what you can pick up that's not propagandized, you're seeing that those patriarchal templates are just being crushed. They're
Yeah,
being, and then you see it in the light worker community. You see it
yeah,
in women. You see it in men, and it's almost like this. The last part of the patriarchal or the patriarchal, the wounded consequences of the patriarchal system are fighting, and
yeah,
lashing out and over identifying with the polarities. But you can also see that there's no need to argue, that literally you just hold the space and go about your business,
yes,
because it's inevitable. Mama's home, and that's the beginning of it. The rest of it will come as he aligns, and
yes.
that incredible creation energy that is the third energy that those two forces create has come to the party too. Some people might call it Christ consciousness or the golden child, but yeah, this is getting real. This is getting real exciting, isn't it?
I've definitely seen a lot of fireworks also with me personally over the past couple of weeks where um, I have felt this whole kind of fire and wanting to reject kind of the male energy, and coming into balance with that again. And I've seen the men also being really shocked and going, what is going on?
Yeah.
um,
Yes. Yes. I mean, I was just telling Morgan this morning that I don't get a lot of, and I don't pay attention anyway. I don't comment on anything simply because I've learned to not engage,
yeah,
because I'm not that, I'm not walking on water. So
yeah,
if I just say, oh, I'm just going to make this comment because you made this snide comment. But what I have noticed is over the last week, that there's been some masculine energies kind of taking shots at me. Now, I'm just the projection, and I can
yeah,
see it in the field, and it's yeah, they don't know what the hell's going on. They're
yeah,
like, wait a minute, somebody turn the lights out,
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So we gotta, and but at the same, by the same token, there is as the distorted masculine, creates a vacuum because it's been dissolved, that other, the true divine masculine frequencies are coming in, and you're seeing evidence of that as well.
oh yeah. I'm really loving it, and I can't wait to see what else is going to come up with that, because I mean, I've been looking forward to that point where we come more into unity,
Yeah.
as humanity anyway. And so, this is, for me, it feels long overdue.
Yes,
It's time.
I think so. I think so. And what I love too about what I'm seeing out there is there's no longer this high percentage of folks in the light worker community that are over identifying with their connection to the universe. In other words, I channel this, or I was
Yeah,
this in a past life, or I have
yeah,
this modality, and everybody needs to listen to it. They're starting to really, I think, lead the way by, and most of these that I notice anyway, it's just my opinion, are quiet and in the background, and they're just kind of
yes.
creeping up, and they're leading the way by just simply being present. And I know that sounds hokey and new age-ish and
No, no,
fluffy
no, no,
love and
no.
light, but it's really true. By being present, which doesn't mean you're always going to be perfect, but what I am seeing is a lot of people project, and then they're like, by the way, I just projected. So
Yeah.
I just
Just don't take any notice. Yeah.
right, right.
I totally agree with you, because I think by identifying as a healer or identifying as channeling this or that or the other, I mean, at the end of the day, we all have these abilities, and we can
Yeah,
all channel from the same sources.
yeah,
So, I think the message and the truth stays the same. And
yes,
so all we're being asked at this moment in time, I feel, or I'm being asked to do at this moment, is just work on myself and be the best version of myself in every moment that comes to me. And so, yeah. And so I don't have to be a label of anything. I can be everything and nothing at the same time.
You're just you.
And
You're
yeah,
Anouk.
I'm just you.
Yeah.
I'm not you, I'm me.
Yeah. Well, there's,
yeah, but you,
there's
me,
some,
whatever.
but yeah. And the thing is too, the realization, as fantastical as it might sound from our old perspective, pre-awakening, or when we were subjected to the conditioning and hadn't figured it out, is the best contribution we can make is to do exactly what you said. And that's not fluffy love and light, new age, hokey stuff. You focus to thine own self be true. You focus on the universe, and you don't even have to think about, let me go march, let me go protest, let me point this out, let me point that out. You just light it up like a node. You just light up your part of the grid, and the math has changed, because that's the contagion right there. That soul spark, when somebody is taking that self-reliance and self-responsibility, and being a conscious co-creator is I mean, I don't think anybody has any idea what the heck this is going to look like.
No, I mean, no one does. And we're all having these wild guesses, and it doesn't really matter, because whatever is supposed to come will come anyway. And so, I also believe that we're not being asked to kind of move with force anymore. We're just being asked to just be, whatever that looks like at any given moment.
Yeah. And that's not a passive thing,
No.
That's not like it is engaging the energy that is much more widely available now, and being added to every single day. But it's being catalyzed by individuals who are living and breathing and doing. And this is the accelerator, right, of the transition, is the individuality.
Yeah.
I just want to say hello to Michael Van Patten. You're on my mind. Thank you for your contributions to Soulology, and I'm going to call you. Hey, this is part of. I mean, this is part of the transition too. Is telepathy is what? Telepathy is, I know everything you know everything I know. I was told on the streets when this started for me, Todd, stop worrying. Just remember one thing: the day's going to come when the whole world's going to know every single thing you've ever done in your life. And I went, and then I went, oh, well, wait a minute. Well, if that's the case, then it's going to be true for everybody. So we're all going to be standing there buck naked to the soul, and we'll be laughing about it. But I think, I think making statements such as I projected, making statements I love, I don't want to say I love you, because that's been tarnished, but I appreciate you, thank you. I messed up, whatever, but being direct, there is no need for directness and pure telepathy. And I think this is where we're heading. This is what we're creating. So
and taking full responsibility for your own actions, right? And just being aware of the effect that your actions are having on your community and the people you're interacting with. Instead of just thinking, well, that's just me and you just got to take it and deal with it. No, take the responsibility.
Do you have any type of, not that there's no wrong answer, I'm just curious because of what I'm seeing in your essence, basically. It didn't, of course, that's just my perspective, but do you have any type of galactic thing going on?
Yes.
Like, okay.
I do. Yeah, I do. And I do get information in, and I also see and feel things, and I hear things. So there's lots of things going on, and it develops every single day, but I'm not being asked to pass on any particular messages to the collective. The only thing that I'm being asked to do is just kind of follow my journey. And I am very, very conscious of the language that I use in anything I do on social media. And so I do plant little seeds of knowledge here and there. And I think by doing that's enough to kind of raise the frequency of my community.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. You ever get those messages from people and you put up a post and they're like, were you talking to me?
Yes, like all the time.
So,
And
so
yeah,
yeah, that intention of, and I totally get what you're saying. I bet you a lot of people on the audience, on the replay and the live will get it too. But that's beautiful. I mean, it's like it's not meant for this person, but they call you up and like, hey, well, you were talking to me, and some of you get
yeah,
mad. Now, what I will say is, as we journey, and I've done this many, many times, and I'm very thankful for it, and I see a lot of people doing it. We get triggered. I would change the word to inspired by an interaction that we've had with somebody else. And
yeah,
actually, it's almost like a transmutation. You take that energy and like, I'm going to say something. And then
yeah,
you just kind of align and boom, it goes out. And then you get the phone calls and the messages about people saying, hey, were you talking to me?
yeah,
No.
absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I'm also at a stage in the game at this moment where I'm just having a lot of fun and playing a lot with whatever comes my way. And I like to connect with as many different players on this kind of level as I can,
Yeah.
so that we can all co-create together. And so yeah, I use my social media in that way to kind of put out the frequency that I'm at, and see what comes back.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a lot of
And
fun.
yeah, and it's getting in the speed of reciprocation, the evidence,
Hmm.
the effect is
Hmm.
getting faster and faster and faster.
Yeah.
It really is. It's like, like you're walking out the door and you sneeze and you walk on the other side of the door and the universe hands you a handkerchief. But so how can, I don't want to run out of time, and just in case there's anything you want to say or do, because I'm not real familiar with your community and your presence online. So like, where can people find you? And if there's anything you wanted to declare or state or talk about or expand awareness about what you might be doing or any particular subject, or if you want to sing or dance, that's fine too. But
I'm not a great singer, but
okay, I've put
yes.
that one out there many times and nobody's ever taken the bait to dance. But no, anything that you want to talk about, the floor is yours. And how can people get in touch with you, and anything that you may want to say?
I really, really appreciate that. I mean, I'm just greatly honored to be connecting with you and connecting with anyone that's watching at this moment in time or that watches the replay later. And so if you want to get in touch with me about anything at all, follow me on Facebook or Instagram. My name is in here anyway, Anouk Wijgergangs. It's a difficult name, but you'll find it. And yeah, I mean, there's nothing, I don't want to kind of profile myself as I do this or I do
Yeah, yeah.
that, because that doesn't feel authentic for me. But I just am who I am. And if anyone is curious or feels that, hey, I want to connect with this girl and have a chat about something,
Yeah,
I'm here.
that sounds good. I love
Yeah.
it. And this is yeah, that's very well put. It's very well put. And and to everybody's credit, first of all, our second hashtag here is the human is the hero. So, I mean, everybody's gone through the same thing, and we're working it out. We're working out, do we charge? Do we not charge? We're working out, do we call ourselves this or do we not call ourselves this? And so I see a lot of good signs. I think that was a great answer, and I think we'll be hearing more answers like that. So I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for you coming on and sharing space with us, for the work that you're doing, because no matter how individual it may seem, you're doing it for the collective. Thank you for listening to all those crazy voices. And I'll send you healing, peace, love, and comfort in your dealings with your 11-year-old superstar child.
Thank you so much.
All right. You take care, and I look forward to maybe collaborating with you again later in the year.
I would love it. That sounds awesome.
All right.